Hi guys, welcome back to Life of Clay for another sculpting video. Kenji here, your sculptor. And this time I will be making the beautiful and yet venomous little kraken among cephalopods, the greater blue ringed octopus, Hapalochlaena lunulata. This will be our first cephalopods in our collections. And if you like my sculpting videos, please consider subscribing and turn on the notification bell icon right next to it, so you won't miss out any of our future videos. You may also like, leave your comment, and share this video to your friends, and that will be appreciated. And so without further ado, come bring the clay on and give Nut the blue ring a handshake. Let's begin by drawing a quick sketch of our little octopus. And to sculpt the tentacles more easily without touching them that may deform and lose their details, I decided to make my do-it-yourself silicone mold recipe, which I tackled in the mold making for resin wings tutorial. But this time, I incorporate fine Arabian sand to the cornstarch, and an equal ratio of this dry mix and silicone sealant goes together. Mix it, knead it, add few drops of oil, and once it formed into a dough, lay it over on a tile and flatten it. And now to engrave the tentacle shape, I use this poking rod by pressing the pointy tip first and then gliding it downward. And to save time, I made set of 4 tentacles in this mold. And I added inverted bump texture inside each tentacle to give them the rough surface once we turned them over. And now that the mold is done, let it cure overnight. And for this project, I use Sculpting translucent and liquid polymer clay together. From my experience, some Sculpting clay are usually crumbly even when they are newly produced, and I don't have any idea why. But to soften them, you can either use polymer liquid or polymer thinner as they called it, but never tried that thing yet, so I stick with this liquid polymer for the meantime. And in this stage of the clay, you cannot place it in the pasta maker right away. Applying brute hand force is the first step, so let's put our muscles on work. And after several minutes of extreme perspiration, the clay is finally become soft, and the beneficial side of it, we don't have to go to the gym after this. Now our silicone mold is also ready. Let us now begin sculpting the tentacles. Roll out a thick noodle of clay, shaping its one end pointy same as to the tentacle's basic shape. Place each tentacle to their slots and press them gently to imprint the texture underneath them. Then roll out a very thin noodle of clay for the suction cups. Attach every cut pieces of cups to the arms, starting at the tip. The cups are getting little larger as they get closer to its body, so adjust the length of each cut as we move on. And octopus's suction cups don't contain any teeth. They consider to be muscular structure and can be used to taste, smell, and grip, and with their tight embrace of death, the victim left no choice but to surrender. The greater blue-ringed octopus Hapalochlaena lunulata is one of the 4 highly venomous blue-ringed octopuses belonging to the family Octopo-di-day. It have a lifespan approximately 2 years. This may vary depending on factors such as nutrition, temperature, and intensity of the light within its habitat. A very small octopus whose size does not exceed 10 cm. Its common name comes from the relatively large size of its blue rings, 7 to 8 mm in diameter, which are larger than those of the other member of the genus. Now that all the suction cups are attached, I press their tips using this small dotting tool to add the crater on them, and with a gentle push will help them adhere to the arm even more. Now let's flip them over and give them a brush of yellow ochre soft pastel powder. Using burnt sienna and black soft pastel powder to add those ring patterns. I cleared the center of some of the rings using a cotton bud dipped in alcohol. And for the other set of tentacles, same procedure is applied. And now that all the tentacles are done, we can now attach them together. I formed a cone of tin foil to support the center of the tentacles and keep the dome shape of it. Stick their thicker ends together, lean them on the foil cone, and gently spread the tips away. We can now position them by bending and curling to give it the walking pose, using some pieces of crumpled tin foil to support and maintain each tentacle's position. Sculpey Premo Translucent becomes more durable and strong and more translucent when bombarded with high heat of the heat gun. Just be very careful and observe the distance to prevent burning your piece. Now that all the arms are set, let's cure them with heat gun. Once cured, I brush its underside with liquid polymer clay and fill the center with small piece of translucent clay and sculpt its mouth parts. This octopus can inflict a deadly bite to its predators that can be potentially fatal to humans. They have two kinds of venom glands that impregnate their saliva. One is to immobilize the hunted crustaceans before eating them, and second, tetrodotoxin is used to defense and is found in several other sea creatures such as pufferfish. There is no known antidote or antitoxin for this toxin, so don't try to make takoyaki out of it. And after that, I cure it again with heat gun, supporting with a bowl shape of tin foil to maintain its shape. We can now proceed in sculpting the head. Using a 3mm aluminum rod, applying 2 parts epoxy on its tip and cover with aluminum foil. And then I cover it with white translucent clay as the base, and after forming the head's basic shape, I cure it with heat gun. And now cover it with a thin sheet of translucent clay and start shaping its final look. Adding and shaping its bulbous eyes, adding various texture using my DIY texturing tools, and adding those parts and tags around its head. Octopuses use 3 ways to camouflage. First is to change the way their skin looks and texture, and with their muscle controls, they can make it look like smooth or bumpy. And the second way is by changing the way they move, folding their tentacles in to mimic a rock, or swim like a sea snake, or crawl on the seabed to mimic his favorite prey, the crabs. And the third way is by changing the color of their skin with their specialized cells called chromatophores, and every single one of these cells has a stretchy sac called cytoelastic sacculus filled with pigments, in which when the muscles around the cell tighten, they pull the pigment sac wider, showing more visible pigments. A true master of camouflage, isn't it? Now that the head is done, brush it with soft pastels and cure it with heat gun. And we can now connect the head and the arms. First, I form a round flat thin sheet of clay and add texture on it, applying liquid polymer clay on the dome and part of the tentacles. And then blanket the thin sheet of clay over the arms and press gently using tissue paper. Retouching the texture and pressing down the web between each arms to make them droop. And I trim off the edges of the web using my personalized loop wire tool, supported underneath with a flat rubber tip tool and with my fingertip. Blend the edges of the web that resting over each arms and using a tweezers to pinch the edges of the web between the arms to make them taper. And I fill the crevices underneath it with more liquid polymer clay and small pieces of clay. Now pull out the aluminum rod on its head, and in attaching it to the arms, I apply liquid polymer clay on both ends and with a thick ring of clay in between them as the neck. And using a ball tip tool to close the seam and blend the clay evenly. I added some texture around it to match the rest of the piece, and I also add siphon that is sticking out on the side slits of its head. This siphon, or also called funnel, is what the octopus uses to shoot water when it needs to make a quick escape from its attacker or when being threatened. And they also use this siphon to squirt black ink that creates a dark cloud that can obscure the predator's view. And now that the connection is done, I brush it with soft pastels and bake it in the oven for the final curing. And we can now paint it. I use yellow ochre thinned down with acrylic medium to make it translucent as the base color. Next is adding burnt sienna to the yellow ochre in painting the outer rim of the rings. Always do the brushing away stroke to make the edge fade and create gradient to the base color. Next is adding burnt umber to the mix and paint the inner rim of the rings. Again, do the fading stroke to soften the edge. I added little amount of black to the mix to even darker the inner rim of the rings. A long process to build the colors, but the result is desirable and close to the likeness to our subject's coloration. Now painting the eyes with a mix of lemon yellow and titanium white. Pure black goes for its pupil, orange goes around its eyeline. I added some speckles around it using the same paint mix we used for its eyes. Painting its underside with a wash of light yellow mix and painting its beak with the brown paint mix. Now adding its blue rings using the paint mix of cobalt blue, titanium white, and aqua blue. These octopuses have an average of about 60 rings that have multi-layer reflectors that allows them to flash a blue-green iridescent ring color. And these blue rings appear with greater intensity when aggregated or threatened, a sign of warning that says back off. And after all the blue rings was added, I paint the inside rim of the larger rings with a very thin line of dark brown mix, so their vibrant blue colors stand out even more. now that the painting is done, we can now seal it with a ratio of 4:1 matte and gloss varnish to imitate its appearance when under the water. And our greater blue ringed octopus is finally done. I enjoy using translucent clay in some of my projects, like in my previous axolotl sculpture and some parts of my T. celadonius legs. I hope you enjoyed our tutorial this time, and may you find my techniques useful in creating your projects as well. It's my pleasure to share my own methods to you guys, so if you like more sculpting videos, please consider subscribing and turn on the notification bell icon right next to it. And also don't forget to like it, comment, and share it. Thank you again for watching, and your support is very much appreciated. See you again next time. Have a great day, everyone.